And you never know. You just never, ever, ever know. Early this morning, I was on my way to work and I saw an individual who reminded me of this man in our community. And everybody loved him, all children loved him. But he had this thing where sometimes when he would hug you, he would just squeeze your heart, just boohoo and cry. And he was a well-known neighborhood man, Mr. Hamlet. And we never knew why certain times of the year, he would just grab us and he would just hug us. He was never out of the way, never anything inappropriate. So our parents never had a problem whenever he did that. So one day I was older, I think I was in junior high school. And I asked my mother, I said, why does he do this? It seemed like every year as it got closer and closer to Christmas, he would do that. And so she sat my sisters and I all down. And she began to tell the story of what happened to this man. He had been to work. He was married and had small children, and he had an armload of groceries and he had worked hours. And so his wife wouldn't have to come out in the cold, drag the children. He stopped at the grocery store. When he got home, the house was full ablaze. He lost everybody. And it just bothered him. And so years and years and years had passed by, and I never knew. I never ever knew, never heard that story. He was just so gentle and so dear to everybody, just as sweet. But we never could figure out why he would end up holding us, excuse me. He would end up, when we would hug him, he would just squeeze us, and it was like he didn't want to let go, and he would just start crying, and we never could understand. And so when my mother told us that story, you know, of course we had more compassion for him and we understood. We understood. And so whenever we would see him, even if he was way up the street, way across the street, because of the compassion that we had for him, we would just run to him. And we never, and mom, all the parents that did tell their children that, they would say, don't say anything, just hug him, or whatever like that, and just let him be healed. That's how he gained healing. Was, yes, sometimes there a certain time of the year, Christmas would always be his trigger. But us rambunctious children, it's about something about rambunctious children that he would be drawn to. And he would start smiling and laughing, and he would just hug on us and everything and just start crying. And, you know, I was a teenager. Years later after that, I was a teenager before I found out that it was helping him to heal. We never knew that. I didn't understand that as a child, but once I became an adult, late teens and early adulthood, I began to understand that Christmas time, us allowing him to hug us and enjoy those memories of his family, of his children, that was his way of being able to hold on to his children again. And that story just came to me this morning. I just saw this person because this man, he's long, long past now. And that's a memory I actually forgot about. And I say that all to say you never ever know. You just never know what people have gone through, what they are now experiencing, and it always pays to just be nice. It costs nothing to be nice. Sometimes People take time to disclose things to you. Some people, they just dumpers, and they can't wait to find the first person they can dump things onto. But there are some people who hold on to stuff, and because it's hurtful, it's very, very painful. You just never know. You never know where they are. You never know if the one thing that you're being impatient about is something about them that gets on your nerves. You never know if that's the thing that's going to help them or push them over the edge. And I remember thinking today, what if we were the mean children who would have said, I don't like you touching me. I don't this, that. That probably would have crushed that man that much more. And different people respond to things differently. You don't know if it's going to push them over the edge to harm somebody or harm themselves. So I just think this is a great time for us to be mindful of people and their stories. My mother used to have this saying that she used to tell us all the time. She used to say, I want you to remember something all the time. She said, behind every closed door, there is a different story. And that is so true. That is something that she says I think will always stick with me, because you never, ever, 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 ever know what someone has gone through. And this man smiled. We never saw him frown. We never seen him with when he was indifferent or he didn't want to speak to anybody. But it was something about Christmas, until my mother explained to me why. I just didn't know why he would get so emotional around Christmas. And yeah, you just never know. Check on people that you see with patterns certain times of the year where they're a little bit different. Sometimes you don't understand why. It never hurts to check on people, even if it's somebody that you haven't seen in a while, somebody you're close to. You notice certain things, but don't just pass things off. If I don't know what her issue is today, I'm just going to let it rest. And whenever she decides to straighten up, or whenever he decide he wants to speak again, you never know. Sometimes people can't come right out and say what that issue is because it's so painful. We cannot put a level on someone else's pain. We cannot put a timer on the process of someone else's healing. And those are two different videos I really, really want to do, because that's, especially the last one, it frets me when I hear people say, by now they should be here. Well, by now they should be at this point where they have gotten over that. You cannot put a timestamp on someone else's healing. You cannot. You do not know or feel or live their pain. You just don't. Sometimes I think we can be too judgmental, and we need to balance the judgment and the compassion part, be somewhere in the middle, closer to compassion side. You can still have boundaries, very firm boundaries, and be very compassionate. You don't have to tip the scale way over to the judgmental side. And I speak with much confidence with that, because I used to be an individual who was very, very judgmental. It was either this way or no way at all. And as I continued to live life and I continued on um, working in nursing and in psychology, I began to understand that that train of thought, it just didn't hold much water. So check more often on people. Some people, even the ones who clown around, you'll be surprised. Some of the ones who clown around are the ones who are in the most pain. Just think about it. Just think about that. So I want you to have a good day. Day 5. I'm on the roll here. So anyway, y'all have a good evening. Talk to you soon.